to home, the place our heart should be. I can't believe that we should never ever want to be close to home, close to home.
Mrs. Caxton.
Hello, Mrs. Caxton.
Hello, Mr. Shepherd. It's Lucy again, I'm afraid.
We'll just put her on the table if you would. This is Graham. He's starting a veterinary course in the autumn.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh. Sorry, Mr. Shepherd. I'll re-sterilise him again in a minute.
That's all right, Graham. He'll be with us for a few weeks to get some work experience.
Oh, dear. What happened to your thumb?
Oh,
Graham hadn't examined a hamster before. So, if you'd like to talk us through, Graham.
Oh, right, yes. Well, it's obviously a dog, Mr. Shepherd.
No quarrels there, Graham?
A bit subdued, maybe.
Yes, well, perhaps our first step will be to ask what seems to be the trouble.
Oh, yes, right. So, what seems to be the trouble, Mrs. Caxton?
With Lucy.
With Lucy.
She's been limping rather badly.
I see. Well, your opinion, Graham?
We have a look at her paws, Mr. Shepherd.
Great minds here, Graham. Thinking alike. Go ahead.
Which paw does she limp on, Mrs. Caxton?
The front one on the right.
Oh, thank you.
And what can you see there, Graham?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it at all, Mr. Shepherd.
And why do you think she's limping on her right paw when you can see nothing wrong with it?
Possible complications with the central nervous system, Mr. Shepherd.
Yes, yes. It's either that or the fact that you've been looking at her left one.
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot it was, yeah. Oh, yes, there seems to be a splinter, Mr. Shepherd.
Yes, it's right there, you see.
Oh, yes, yes.
So now we know what's wrong. What do we do?
Take the splinter out?
Exactly. It's fairly well embedded, so I think the best thing will be to freeze the paw. So if you'd freeze the paw, please, Graham.
Oh, right, Mr. Shepherd. Won't be a moment.
Graham, where are you going?
To the fridge to get the ice?
No, freeze it with the anaesthetic.
Oh.
Won't be long, Mrs. Caxton. Graham will soon have the hang of it.
Oh, that's much better. Thanks, Rose.
Are you all right now, Graham, or is your eye still numb?
No, I'm fine, thanks, Mr. Shepherd. I can see out of it again now.
How's your finger?
Oh, it's not serious. No, I just never knew a tortoise could turn on you like that.
Yes, it came as quite a surprise to me, too. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow then, shall we?
Oh, yes. Good night, Mr. Shepherd. Night, Rose. Night, Graham.
Night, Graham. Pull, Graham.
Hi, Dad. Have you got a minute?
Yes, Robbie, I should think so. What's up?
Well, I wanted to ask you about something.
Yes?
Well, it's about school. See, we had biology this afternoon, first thing after stinks.
What, after chemistry, you mean?
No, after lunch. And the thing is, we've got this assessment next week, and they want us to dissect a frog.
Well, that won't be too difficult. We can go over it together at the weekend. I'll pick up a bag of frozen ones from Sainsbury's.
Well, it's not that. All I mean is, it's not right, is it?
What isn't?
Well, you've always said we should respect all forms of life. All life is sacred, you said.
Well, that's true, Robbie, but sometimes when we want to learn about life, we have to make certain sacrifices.
But we know how frogs work, don't we? Spawn plus water equals frogs. It's a bit like tea bags.
Up to a point.
I just think it's a waste of a perfectly good frog. And I don't think I can do it, Dad. I mean, maybe if a frog attacked you and you killed it in self-defence.
Self-defence? How big are these frogs?
In that case, OK. But in cold blood, it's horrible. If it was kittens, there'd be an uproar.
Well, that's true, Robbie. It is a cultural thing. And in this culture, there are some animals you shouldn't get too fond of. I mean, take Horace at the city farm. He's a nice pig. You like him, I like him, Vicky likes him. But it's no use us pretending that one day soon he won't end up in the Bacofoil.
But that doesn't mean frogs have got to end up in the Frogofoil, does it?
Well, look, obviously I wouldn't want you to act against your principles. Do you want me to have a word with the school?
Oh, if you wouldn't mind, Dad. I just think it's cruel, that's all, cutting up frogs. It's so unnecessary. They aren't doing any harm. Flipping spiders.
He's all heart, that boy.
James, whatever's going on? I came round as soon as I heard.
I give up. What is going on?
What's all this I hear about Robbie?
Oh, yes, well, I'm just off to the school to sort it out.
I've always had my doubts about that school. They say it's comprehensive, but it seems more like third-party fire and theft to me.
Well, schools do catch fire occasionally.
But it never seems to go out. You make sure you give that headmaster a piece of my mind.
Certainly. Which piece of your mind do you want me to give him?
I don't know, really. Oh, before you go, could you put that up on the notice board in your surgery?
And what's this?
I've branched out. I'm doing sculptures of people's animals.
What happened to the interior decoration business?
It's a bit slow. I've worked in clay before, remember, when we were married. I used to throw a lot of pots.
You didn't do badly with the plates either.
It wasn't my fault you couldn't catch them.
Well, give it a rose. She'll pin it up for you. Right then, I better get round to the old school. I was a pupil there, you know. Yes, many a happy hour I spent round at the old bicycle sheds.
Oh, I liked cycling too.
What's that got to do with bicycle sheds?
To get it by heart, Mr. Shepherd, if you want to get it into your head. And not only is teaching by rote effective, but it also gives the class something to do while waiting for the textbooks to turn up.
Yes, indeed.
But if a boy won't pull his weight, we're not going to pull it for him. If he doesn't get his finger out, well, we have to leave him there, stuck in the dike.
Absolutely, Mr. Nesbitt.
We're producing the citizens of tomorrow here, Mr. Shepherd. So if a boy says no to Miss Manners or yes to Mr. Rude, we send him along to the Cadet Corps and introduce him to Sergeant Discipline.
I remember him well.
And if that has no effect, then we have a few words with Captain Standards and suggest it's a mission for corporal punishment.
Yes, well, if you do that in this case, Mr. Nesbitt, there could well be major ructions.
Don't misunderstand me, Mr. Shepherd. I'm not an authoritarian headmaster. Why, you only have to ask the pupils.
Yes, I thought I saw them throwing tiles off the roof as I drove up.
Not that there's ever been any trouble with Robbie, of course, who's always very well behaved. There was that incident in the physics lab, but the bomb squad soon got here and dismantled it.
Boys will be boys. So, what about Robbie?
Well, we certainly wouldn't compel him to give any frogs a taste of cold steel. But if he missed the practical, he'd be marked down accordingly and would probably fail his exam.
I see. Okay, Mr. Nesbitt. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time. If you'll excuse me, I have to go and see a woman about a pig.
Yes, well, I won't detain you if you have a luncheon appointment. Oh, I wonder before you go if you could take a look at the Cadet Corps' regimental mascot.
Why? What seems to be the problem?
Well, we have this goat who used to march quite happily behind me at the head of the band, but he hasn't been himself lately, and, well, he's been giving me headbutts.
Oh, well, I wouldn't worry about that, Mr. Nesbitt. It sounds like his heart's in the right place.
I am rather worried about him.
Well, I have to say, Vicky, this is the first time in my career that I've ever been asked to establish that a pig is well enough to go to the nats.
I wouldn't want to send him if he wasn't, you know, at his best.
No, obviously you'd want him to enjoy the trip in the lorry. Take a few snaps, stop for a beer and a game of snooker.
I know what you're inferring, but this is a working farm, and although I like animals, I am not the kind of person to get sentimental about them.
Me neither. Hard as nails. Raw plugs for breakfast.
If a pig's got to go, he's got to go. Pigs are pigs. Of course, Horace isn't just a pig. Well, he is. But in other ways, he's more, well...
A personal friend?
Yes. And I wouldn't want to send him
if you could possibly avoid it.
If he wasn't feeling very well.
But that's what I meant.
And I do think he's off colour. And you can see the way he is with his food.
You mean about him really stuffing it down there like somebody stoking a boiler?
James, he's eating like a bird.
And which bird is that, Vicky? A 24-stone vulture?
Well, I don't think he's very well. He's limping, and his tail isn't very curly.
No, and he seems to be developing a bit of a style, too. Well, you may be right. In fact, the more I look at him, the more I can see that a trip to the knackers would seriously damage his health. Yes, it is my considered professional opinion that what this pig really needs is a holiday.
Yes, James.
Yes, I suggest you take him for a couple of weeks to Marbella, and we'll see how he is when you get back.
You think there was any home, do you?
I said next to worse.
Well, I'll cancel the lorry and see how he gets on, shall I?
Yes, I think that would be best. Just keep an eye on him, and when he's more like his old self, you can make arrangements then.
Thanks, James. I knew you'd understand. Some people just can't see how he might feel.
Yeah, but it's pig ignorance, really.
I'll make us a coffee. Come on.
Can I ask you something, Rose?
Yes. Is that it? What you wanted to ask me?
No, it's a bit more complicated than that.
Fire away.
Well, have you ever felt you didn't fit in and feel the same way as other people?
No, I've always felt I fitted in. Though sometimes I have felt other people didn't. Why?
Well, have you ever felt there was something you really didn't want to do?
Yes, every morning when the alarm goes off, and every time the cat's sick.
And do you think it's wrong not to do things you don't want to do?
Well, it depends, really, Robbie. You see, sometimes there are things you don't want to do that really you ought to do, even though you don't want to do them.
Like doing homework, writing thank you letters, lending greaseball Wilkins your comb.
And paying the poll tax, maybe. But also there are things that you don't want to do that you shouldn't do at all.
You mean matters of conscience?
Yes, like not fighting in a war, or not eating meat if you don't want to.
Not cutting up frogs if you don't want to?
I can't advise you on that, Robbie.
Why not?
Your father pays my wages. All I'll say is that sometimes we need to stand up and be counted.
Yeah, but if I stood up to be counted, there'd only be one of me, wouldn't there?
True, but it all adds up. There may be only one of you today, but tomorrow there could be two. And at that rate, give it a year, there could be 365 of you. See what I mean?
No.
Jolly good. Wouldn't do if it all made sense, would it?
Hello, Rose. Hi, Graham. Oh, dear. What happened?
Well, it was my fault, really. We should have waited for you, but Graham was confident he could handle it.
Oh, I thought I'd be all right, Mr. Shepherd.
Well, what happened exactly?
Well, it looked like quite a small piranha when they brought it in. But when I put my hand in the bowl...
With a cut finger? How's the fish?
Well, he seemed to perk up, really. Once he'd had something to eat.
Well, let's get the afternoon surgery underway, shall we? If you have any more bandages, Graham, you look like the Invisible Man. Graham, your coat's on inside out.
Well, I know I had to do it. In fact, we must have done hundreds of them. Big, horrible, squodgy mess it was. Talk about coleslaw.
Yes, right. Thank you, Kate. Don't feel you have to go into details.
Mind you, if you think biology was bad, you should have seen home economics. One day, we had to do tripe and onions, and 6 girls threw up. This tripe, Dad, it was unbelievable. They had to lock the windows to stop it getting out.
It's okay, Kate. If you can spare us the scholastic horrors. Robbie's gone green.
Oh, that's the colour the tripe was. I remember because somebody bought in a paint jar.
Kate, tripe is off. Thank you.
Oh, I never get any fun.
What did Mr. Nesbitt say?
We cooked it for hours and it was still like rubber. In the end, we had to take it outside and beat it with a hockey stick.
Well, I had a long chat with Mr. Nesbitt, and it's really all up to you, Robbie. No one's going to make you do the dissection, but if you don't, you'll probably fail the overall exam.
Oh, I see.
So you'll have to decide what's more important. A good mark in biology or a frog.
How important is it to you, Dad?
Well, that's not the point, Robbie.
I mean, if I failed biology, I could never be a vet, could I?
Well, it would make things a little difficult. It does help with the spaying work.
Would you be disappointed?
Only if you were disappointed, Robbie. Look, just be yourself. The last thing I want to be is the heavy father, okay?
The week after was even more disgusting. We had to do chicken livers.
Has anyone got a brown paper bag?
So, if you could pass these on for me, please, James, and collect the money. This is a portrait of Mr. Robert's cat, and the sculpture is for Mrs. Nicholson.
I didn't know Mrs. Nicholson had a pet ashtray.
It's a tortoise. Oh, and tell Mr. Dove I'm still working on his bulldog. I may need another sitting. Its jowls aren't quite right yet. They seem to dangle an awful lot.
Well, maybe you could have them lifted.
And sometimes it slubbers so much I have to hold it out of the window. Have you sorted out that thing about the frog?
Well, the exam's this afternoon. I've left it up to Robbie.
Morning.
Morning, Rose.
Morning, Rose.
I say, what a nice ashtray.
Tortoise.
Yes, what a nice tortoise-shaped ashtray.
All right, I'll redo it.
There we are, Miss Garland. The injection should soon clear up the abscess. And one of these pills once a day to prevent any further infection.
Right. How should I give them?
Well, you saw the way Graham tried to give him the tablet just now.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't do it that way. Just crumble it up and mix it in with his food, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Garland.
Goodbye. I hope they won't have to amputate.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Anyone else, Rose?
No, that's the lot.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, Graham, so your work experience finishes with us today.
Yes, Mr. Shepherd, it's gone very quickly. And I've got to learn an awful lot about a vet's surgery.
Yes, you've seen quite a lot of the casualty department, too. But tell me, Graham, you're fond of animals, are you?
Oh, yes, Mr. Shepherd, I am. And I think they like me, too.
Yes, in some ways. It's just that being fond of animals isn't quite enough to make a vet, Graham. You see, it's often not affection that animals need, it's more a firm hand. A firm hand, that is, Graham, not a bandaged one.
Are you, telling me something, Mr. Shepherd?
Well, Graham, I wouldn't want to discourage anybody from doing what they want to do, but why did you decide to become a vet?
My parents were very keen on the idea.
Ah, and what were you keen on, Graham?
Well, I did think it might be nice to be a computer games designer, Mr. Shepherd.
Well, the yellow pages are full of vets, Graham, but a good computer games designer is worth his weight in microchips.
Really? Oh, thanks, Mr. Shepherd. You know, I think I just needed someone to tell me that. Actually, I've got a good idea for a computer game already. I think I might call it Accident Prone.
That's it, Graham. You stick to what you know about and you won't go far wrong.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Shepherd. Oh. Thanks.
All the best, Graham. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, Graham.
Bye, Rose. Oh, before I go, I just thought I'd say that I fell in love with you the very first time we met, and I think you're very beautiful.
Bye, Graham. Did I ever tell you this happens to me all the time with young men of his age?
If you had, I would have remembered. Here we are then, Horace, the educated hawker. We may not have a bull with a biro, but here is a pig with a pen.
Not for much longer. He's off on Saturday.
You said that last Saturday and the Saturday before that.
Well, maybe I didn't really mean it then. Farming is tough, James. A pig is bred for the oven. I will miss him, though.
Well, the size of him, you're bound to. But don't feel bad about it, Vicky. Look at it this way. Even when he's gone, he'll still be with us in spirit.
I suppose so.
If he can't be with us in spirit, then maybe he can be with us in a sandwich.
Excuse me, Mr. Shepherd.
Vicky, it was just a joke. Vicky, I didn't mean it. I see what you've done. You've really put your treasure in it this time, haven't you? Now, when he gets back, don't mention frogs, exams, or anything.
You don't have to talk to me about tact, James. It's a rare day when I put my foot in it.
Kate, you won't mention frogs.
Mum's a word, Dad.
Oh, thank you, darling. How sweet of you to say so.
Yeah, Mum's a word, Dad. Dad's a word, Mum. I've always tried to treat them both equally.
So don't forget, it's a matter between Robbie and his conscience. If he wants to tell us, that's okay, but if he doesn't, well, we'll leave it up to him, okay?
Hello, I'm back.
In the kitchen.
Oh, hi, everyone.
Robbie, hello, darling.
Hi. What's that?
It's not an ashtray.
No, it's a tortoise. So, why are you all so quiet?
Oh, we're not quiet, are we? We're very noisy.
Oh,
Oh, we've been making a lot of noise, sitting here staring our tea and eating our cakes and not talking about ponds or anything. In fact, we've been stirring our tea so loudly that the neighbours have complained, haven't they, James?
Yes, you just missed them. They came around with a petition.
Getting a cold, Mum?
No, I've just got a little badger in my throat.
Yes, your mother's been a little bit under the weather. You had a bit of a stoat up your nose as well, didn't you, Helen?
Did not.
So you're all right, are you, Robbie?
Yes, fine.
Good, good. You're fit then?
As far as I know.
No problems? Good.
Ribbit. Ribbit.
Dad,
Yes, Robbie?
I'm afraid I'm going to fail my biology exam.
Well done, son. I'm proud of you. We were so worried you might have passed.
Are you sure you don't mind, Dad?
Not at all. Just don't become a conscientious objector of your French oral or your maths, okay?
Yeah, but it'll mean I won't be able to follow in your footsteps.
Oh, I don't know. You're not so bad at digging your heels in.
Hello, James. Robbie.
Hi. Is it okay if I go and give Horace an apple?
An apple?
It's all right, it's a rotten one. Where is he, in his sty?
Well,
I should have said, Robbie, the lorry was coming for Horace this morning, wasn't it, Vicky?
yes, it did come from this morning.
It's a working phone, Robbie.
Yes, the lorry came for him this morning and, well, he overslept and missed it again. His unusual place.
Oh, great. You failed his exams too, then.
You know, I sometimes get the impression that the only thing that pig's going to die of is old age.
Well, it's not my fault if he can't get up in the morning. It's just...
A lazy pig?
I can be ruthless when necessary, James. It's just that, you know, some animals you get attached to, don't you think? I'm going to feed the rabbits.
What a good idea.
Come on, then.
You know, you're right, Vicky. Some animals you get attached to. Don't you think?
Close to home, the place our heart should be. I can't believe that we should never ever want to be. Close to home is where I need to be, where all the troubles of the day can keep me company. Close to